Well, welcome everyone to our spring quarterly MiCAN members meeting. There were a lot of folks registered for this meeting, so we will continue to see some folks hop in, I hope, as we get things kicked off. And our agenda today is to hear a little bit from us, some of the updates, some of the pieces that we're working on, and some additions to our team, some of the big events coming up, all sorts of fun things that we are working on. And then we want to take some time and hear from all of you, of course. And we've sort of framed that as your Earth Day events, because I bet that's what's on a lot of folks' minds right now. But really, that part can be open to whatever you want to talk about, whatever's going on for you in your climate work and your community. And then we have a pretty exciting initiative. I'm so pleased to be here with you today to launch what we call Climate Culture Club and to utilize a new space. And some of you are involved with our steering committee or some of our other groups and have been introduced to Mighty Network in another way. But we really want to do a big launch today so that everyone understands, I think, a really cool way that we can stay further connected that avoids email, which is my general overall life goal, to reduce the number of emails that we all get and send in order to do this work, right? So we can get things kicked off. Again, I see a lot more folks coming in. And please, this can be interactive. If you got a question or a comment, throw it in the chat, raise your hand, unmute. We can make this interactive and ask any question you want. We just ask that you follow some of our community guidelines and norms, right? Make sure you're doing that active listening to respond, coming from those I statements. And if you got a question, step up, throw it in the chat. I'm sure we can take the time to answer it right now in real time and move forward. It's usually a very respectful group, and I really appreciate that from all of you out there in our MiCAN member world. So we have a little bit, I just wanted to share with everyone. I know we've got folks coming in. Maybe you've known MiCAN for a while. Maybe you're totally new to MiCAN membership. We redid our strategic plan last fall of 2022, and refreshed our mission statement and really how we think about our work. And that is to be the megaphone, the voice of this climate movement is our core role. And we do that in lots of ways that I hope you're going to see today, as well as in the future. Our supporting role, how we do that work is to convene all of you. And I hope you've been noticing the quarterly member meetings like today that you can get involved in, our Community Voices series, of course, and I think our team and hopefully me are incredibly accessible to all of you. The way that we see this working is we don't just amplify it, but we have to connect, right? And we have to support each other in doing this work. And that's how we're going to achieve that overall impact that MiCAN is interested in meeting, well, we think exceeding, right, that My Healthy Climate Plan and the goals of the 2023 clean energy legislation that the state of Michigan passed. With together, we know that we can do even better. And our vision for the overall climate movement is to establish this overall, just undeniable, widespread, and durable support. Our theory of change here at Michigan Climate Action Network is people power, is this grassroots piece, right? We inherited a wonderful set of grass tops partners, and we've been really working over the last year and a half to build out our grassroots piece so that we know we're the majority already. And I know all of you know that. And if you haven't, then you haven't listened to one of my talks recently. But we are the majority, right? 72% of Michiganders know climate change is happening, and 66% of them want us to do more. And so we really think that we have to galvanize all the folks who believe that, who are already working on that. And our ultimate goal is to cultivate all of us into this well-coordinated network that can reduce those disparities. So your zip code doesn't predict your health and climate impacts, so that we exceed those mitigation targets, and so that we inspire and cultivate that durable cultural shift to everything that we are doing here in Michigan and maintaining a leadership role. This state has a lot to offer, and with all of you and all of us working together, which we haven't been as well as we could or should be. And that's, I think, the real niche and the real power and role of the Michigan Climate Action Network. So that's just a little review. Many of you seen those slides before. We've been expanding this team. So the top row are our 4 permanent staff. Hi, I'm Denise. I should have probably started with that, but I think I know everybody on here. Serving as executive director since June of 22. We've got our digital, two real comms professionals, right? So when we think about that role of amplifying the messaging, we've got Colleen Ati as our communications manager and Serena Amder as our digital community manager. You're going to hear from both of them throughout today's presentation, and a lot, especially from Serena. So I'm not going to try to steal her thunder until later in today's meeting. And not with us today is Erica Bolden, who, if you're in the Grand Rapids or Congressional District 3 area, you know very well from her work also with Urban Core Collective. And she is focusing on our Line 5 engagement work and really trying to build that grassroots support up and down the whole coast of Michigan. So those are permanent folks, and we've been adding lots of advisors who many of them are here today. Thank you so much for being here. You'll hopefully recognize Professor Colleen Ludwig from our art interactive exhibit at last year's Climate Summit. She has stayed on with us as an artistic director, and also Donna McClurkin, our cultural contributor, one of the founders of our very own Kalamazoo Climate Crisis Coalition, where I started to learn my advocacy chops. And also with us, all this comms work takes a lot of back-end pieces, and I am so grateful to have another founder of MiCAN on our team, the great Bill Lotka, and I see you here today on the screen is helping us out with some of those comms advisor pieces. And I see Elise too. It's always fun when we get to sign off as Denise and Elise. We'll make a nice rhyme about that someday, maybe. But Elise is coming on. We have started, given my background, right, as a university professor, we've started a couple education state tables, one that's focused on K through 12 and another one that's focused on higher education. And Elise's background as a doctorate in anthropology and her research is all about how we bring climate change education in the 21st century to universities. And so I'm so pleased to have her help with those communities as well. So we've been collecting all sorts of fine folks to make sure that we can meet and deliver on that mission. And more are welcome. So we got special skills and talents in this network. That's what it's all about. Our team is also very, very grateful to have been expanded. If you notice that we might have been even more active on social media in the last few months, it's because of these fine 3 young people. This is a program, again, thinking about our mission to amplify and be the megaphone. We know we need different voices to be communicating the climate message. And this is a program that was funded by the Midwest Building Decarb Coalition to give stipends to 3 young, diverse influencers who were creating content from their perspective so that we could draw in different audiences. And we hope they learned a little bit from us, serving as mentors to them. Then you can see some of the things that they thought about the program as well. And I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to meet with them and see their content, because we are doing a second round of this cohort. This was our first attempt, these 3 young people over the last 12 weeks, and we're about to launch and open that application up again, probably open mid-April to start that next cohort to run from May to August. So stay tuned for that. And if there's a 18 to 24-year-old in your life that you think could be a great diverse messenger for the climate movement, please be sending them our way and looking out for that quick announcement. And we're hiring yet another person because we just keep getting really great work that we got to do and some amazing grants and pieces. And we're hiring right now for a full-time network manager. And I've gotten some questions about this position because it really is a merge of an operations person, right? Someone who can understand our databases of donors and all of you as members, keep track of all of our wonderful member groups as we grow and grow and grow this network, but also to convene these pieces, right? As we are really leaning into the coalitions that we belong to, like Oil and Water Don't Mix, like the Michigan Alliance for Justice and Climate, We belong to all sorts of coalitions, and we need some help managing that. And we're running these education tables, our steering committee, members meetings like this. It's time for us to get a little help. So I think of it as part operations and part engagement. That position is open until filled. And thanks, Colleen is on the chat today for us. She's got all the links in there for you. I'm getting a lot of good applications for that. So if you know someone that wants to come in and be that network manager with us, tell them to get that application in or talk to me as soon as possible. And thanks for linking those communities and coalitions right now, Colleen. The coalitions, again, are expanding the things that we need to represent in for our environmental justice pieces, as well as the Michigan Environment, Michigan Jobs. And again, we're running just a variety of different groups within MiCAN that are contributing to that overall connecting and supporting each other. And we have a long ways to go there. And I think this position is just perfect for MiCAN's next step. So let me know if there's someone out there that you're thinking of. We got a lot going on. Oh yeah. And then there's community voices. So the main way, I even forget what slide's next sometimes. So the main way that we try to connect, especially our steering committee. So last August, we started a steering committee that is composed of the local leaders of groups around the state, from Oakland County to Lansing, to Marquette, to Grand Rapids, Detroit, my own Kalamazoo. They serve on this committee in order to advise and guide what MiCAN's strategic priorities are and to align them. And the way that we get to know each other, right? You can't really do this work or do it efficiently if we don't know each other and we haven't built some trust and we don't understand what you're about and what your group is doing. And so up next this April, I think we have done maybe a year of these. If you look at the link there for the community voices, we started in Kalamazoo last March and have been going around the state with Grand Rapids, White Lake area. Several folks have gone. Up next is Detroiters Working for Environmental Justice on Tuesday, April 9. Please register for that. Again, in this connecting and supporting role, we got to get to know each other first before we can really do some of the hard work together. So please come to that and learn all about all these different orgs that are in the network. And Erica's not here. Our line 5 engage. Oh, nope, that's not what's next. The summit slide is what's next. All these community voices, and I'm going to bring up the summit a couple times later when we talk about some of our climate voter campaign for this particular year. We are headed towards, of course, an incredibly important election year. As a political scientist, every election is the most important election ever, and I see no difference in that one this year. It is set, and Michigan is poised to play a pivotal role, and we know we need to get out ahead of this election. And so our summit, instead of being in June, which it has been the last couple of years, we moved it to September, and we will be at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, with the theme of climate civics. We are going to be focusing on voter registration, voter education, and true civic engagement. Again, the way that I think about all of the groups and members of MiCAN, we are the civil society. We are the communities and the voice of the people who should be leading our democracy, aka our republic. And this is what this summit is going to be all about. We are in progress of programming and planning. So if you got ideas, please send them our way. But we're thinking about things like energy democracy is a frame around how we think about climate civics. Energy independence is a frame, right? Those are the kinds of panels and pieces that we really want to bring to this year's climate summit in September. Hopefully that'll be a gorgeous day. There's going to be tabling. We will have the interactive art again. We will have music again. And we are thinking of much more like a festival-like style, to where it's just going to be, again, meeting that mission of undeniable that climate voters are out there, that we are strong, that this is exactly where we need this state and our elected officials to go. Don't worry, we'll be nonpartisan in all that work. I bet line 5 is next. It is. Awesome. So Erica's not here with us today, but she is working very, very hard. The main thing that if you are in the Grand Rapids area, we are going to be at a libations facility tomorrow evening. I'm very excited for that, to talk about Line 5 and have a community conversation. So please join us tomorrow night. You can meet Erica and I in person to talk about some of the pieces that she's moving forward. Right now, we are focusing on the federal asks here and that direction, so we can still have our petition to let Biden know that he could shut down Line 5 at any time, and to let our congressional representatives know that that's what we demand as well. Erica's working very, very hard to, again, build that base in a district that maybe doesn't know why it should care about Line 5. And our really approach to that here at MiCAN is, yes, Line 5 is just the most dangerous oil pipeline, and that's why we need to shut it down now. Of course, that will lead to all the other ones getting shut down next, right? So please, if you haven't already taken those actions, sending a message to Biden and to your member of Congress, please do that. And big props to the Oil and Water Don't Mix Coalition for really running a statewide coordinated campaign around that. If you've seen other Line 5 engagement coordinators, there are some up around the Traverse City area and in Lansing that work with different organizations. So this coalition model of civic engagement is really, really powerful, right? And we're doing that extremely well together. I think Colleen should take over this amazing slide that she created, and then I'm gonna shut up and we're gonna hear from all of you about your Earth Days and other things that are going on. Colleen, what did you find in our Earth Day events?
So much, yeah. No surprise probably to anyone here that, yeah, the network really already has a bunch of awesome events in the works. As you can see here, there are several pretty big standing annual events in Southeast Michigan, but we do have a really good representation actually already across the state. So no matter where our members are, they're gonna be able to find something that they can go out and get involved in for Earth Month. Something to keep in mind is this map here is actually only showing the events for the Saturday right before Earth Day, April 20th. So I definitely would encourage all of you to still follow this QR code on the screen here so that you can see all of the other rallies and cleanups and other events that are happening all throughout the month as well. And then also, if you do see that your area is not on the map and you know of something that's going on throughout Earth Month or on Earth Day, then don't worry, there's still time. You can also submit your events here. I'll drop the link in the chat, but it's also listed at the top of the page where this QR code will lead you as well. But we will be sending out an e-blast like mid next week with some April events, and then it's looking like we are going to add another just before Earth Day because there are so many awesome things going on and they're still coming in from you all. So definitely keep them coming. And then I think, yeah, we can also open it up and do a round robin style sharing if you want to plug your event now as well.
Yeah, thanks for making this beautiful map. I didn't know that was what we were going to end up showing today. It looks awesome. And I know Sierra Club had for a few years was making an interactive map and putting them on there. So we'll try to get with you, Andrew, or Sarah Tressiter, who does that work, and see if we can't combine these, because we're getting a ton of submissions, which is fantastic. But I'd like to just open it up now. We can probably stop screen sharing for just a minute, and want to hear from all of you. And if anyone wants to share their Earth Day event, whatever they're thinking about doing, hopefully we already have it, like Colleen said. If we don't, please fill out that event submission form so we can be blasting it out. Again, our job is to help connect all those individuals that may not know that they already have a local climate org that they can be part of, right? And be out there. So unmute, raise your hand, however you want to do that. This is your time to tell us what's going on for your events, Earth Day, or anything else. Yeah, go ahead, Stephanie.
All right, well, I wanted to mention that Manistee is the place for the Great Lakes Environmental Festival, which is taking place on the 20th, we are having speakers, a number of speakers. I don't have the list in front of me, but from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m., Pete Sinclair will be speaking. I've got a bio on a number of people there that are attending. Marianne Lessert, who wrote a novel. The Green Amendment person who wrote the Green Amendment is going to be speaking. Got people who are doing research on recycling plastic. I've got journalists, others, and it's all on our website, www.glef.us for Great Lakes Environmental Festival. It's going to be in Manistee High School, and we'll have an expo also and an electric car showing. Rally. It's just so much activity, and I'm hoping that people can attend. We also have a dinner, an awards dinner the night before, which we'd love people to attend. So if you go to www.glef.us, that's a way to connect with us. And I need that place to be filled. Joan Rose, who's an international speaker on water, is going to be presenting, and I really want that place full of people. So if you can help us out, I need names of people who to send this to, if anybody can help. I'm really wanting it to be a full activity. Thank you.
Awesome. I know we got that event on our list. You were on the map, and I was there last year. It's a wonderfully run event. Thank you so much for giving that a plug, Stephanie. Tim, what am I doing in Kalamazoo?
Well, Denise, you all already put it in the chat, but on April 19th, it's not actually billed as an Earth Day event, but I think that's what will happen. It's the peak event of the Spring Interaction series occurring at Western Michigan University. And then also on the 20th, the Kalamazoo Nature Center has big plans for a number of events. There are, I think those are the most important things that are happening in Kalamazoo, in my opinion. There will be other things also, but I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Tim. I'm going to throw that link in the chat to the Western Michigan University Climate Change Working Group because they're doing a whole semester-long Spring into Action. There's a lot of events on there. Some of them are virtual if you're not in my region, but if you are, you could always call me up and we could go together and we could be in person, right? Andrew, tell me all about all the amazing things that are going on from Sierra Club and probably Oakland County.
Yeah, well, you know, we have some stuff going on along the lakeshore. Thanks for getting that on there. I'm not the one organizing that, so I should probably leave that to the folks that are to maybe say a little bit more about that at some point. But I did want to shout out the Oakland County Earth Day this year because I saw it was on the map, but I just want to say a little bit about it. It's going to be a phenomenal event. We have 30 vendors already confirmed. We've got musical acts. So Jerry Stormer, who's a local folk musician, will be there. Judy Inslee and her band. We've got Marnice Jackson is going to be one of the honorary co-chairs, we think, of the march. So that's going to be really cool. We've got a retired meteorologist from Channel 7, Chris Edwards, who's going to be speaking. And this year we're doing teach-ins too. So we're actually going to have 4 different teach-ins on different topics. Chris Edwards, the meteorologist, is going to lead one of them, but we'll be talking about climate justice. We'll be talking about that with Chris Edwards. We'll be doing one with the city of Royal Oak to talk about their climate plan. So if you're anywhere in the state and you want to come learn about climate stuff, you want to come be with like-minded people, you want to hear some music, you want to march around town, Colleen will be there as well, pioneering some art stuff. We'll be doing a handoff of last year's art stuff to the Oakland County Historical Society. That's been going on tour. That's to say everything's going on there. So come on down. We'd love to have you anytime from, we're doing the climate march from 3 to 4 and from 4 to 7, we'll be having a fair. So if that's of interest to anyone, please come join us and be a part of it.
It's an awesome event. It just keeps building and building. Thank you, Andrew, for your leadership and being able, this is the mark of great leadership is he's not running it this year and it got even bigger. So that means you've been really building out that capacity of folks to be pulling off just massive major events. And thank you for the teaser there of the interactive art that'll be at September's MiCAN Climate Summit. Oakland County is going to get a little preview of what our artistic director, Professor Ludwig, is thinking thinking about doing and have some handoff there. So I'm very excited for us to have a presence out there, even though I'll be in Kalamazoo marching this year. Thanks, Andrew. Connie, what are you thinking about? What's going on? And then Lauren, you're on deck.
Hi, everyone. I'm with Detroit 2030 District, and we have April 19th, we have a virtual lunch and learn, and we're covering reduce, reuse, and recycle. And the reduce will be on reducing water consumption in commercial buildings and water reuse with Adrienne Bennett, who is the owner of Benkari. She's the first African-American master plumber in the whole United States.
Wow.
Lives here in Detroit, and a big part of our program will be covering recycling with Green Living Science and covering reuse. It's with Kelly from We Reuse, and it's on stainless steel, healthy stainless steel foodware options, mostly for schools. So we're kind of covering the 3 hours, and it's free at noon on Friday, April 19th. We have more stuff, but that's good enough to talk about now.
Wow.
I'll put a link in here if
Yeah,
people want to
please.
sign up.
Please give us a link. I'm not sure we got that one on our calendar yet, Colleen.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
so. It's
okay.
probably my fault, but
Not at all. We're really
we
trying
get
to.
a little busy in Detroit, so
I totally hear that. We're really trying to get that, make sure that events calendar, the folks really know how to submit to that, and any feedback on making that easier, right? How we can make sure that we are connecting everybody to these amazing events. I love the skills building and the like. You've got some actual the silverware products and pieces for folks to be sustainable. We might have to talk about some of those pieces to come.
yeah, it's the first manufacturer of stainless steel products in the US, so you don't have to ship it overseas anymore. It's a very
Wow,
healthy product to eat off of, so
this is awesome.
very
And
good. Yeah,
I see y'all in the
thanks.
chat too. Put whatever you need to in the chat. Thanks, Don. I know A2P2 will be doing some fun stuff. Yeah, look at all this stuff. Oh boy, we're gonna save this chat and make sure we get them all. Lauren, what's Micah up to?
Sorry, I'm reading along. We don't have any in-person events to offer, but I'm excited that other people do get us out of the Zoom world a little bit. Micah will be hosting a webinar this month that's CME CE eligible for any of the health professionals on the call or any of you with health professional family members. And so we're going to be talking about the intersections, a little climate health 101, we're calling it. And then doing a workshop in how you turn that conversation into a story from the perspective of your own practice and what you've seen with your patients. So I don't have a sign up link for you yet, but I'm dropping our website in the chat. So thanks, everybody.
Nice, thanks, and congratulations, right, Lauren? You are taking on some bigger roles at Micah. Do you want to say a bit about that, or do you want me to continue to embarrass you?
Well, thank you for that shout out. I just took on the role as the executive director. So good to meet you all. And if you have any questions about what we do, please reach out. I'll include my email in this chat too.
And don't worry, for those of you who know that Dr. Lisa Del Buono, who founded Micah. She is staying on as president, and it's just been so impressive to see you in all the spaces, Lauren, and so glad that you're taking on the helm there. Our organizations are all growing, and I think that is a fantastic sign for our climate movement, for the amount of support that is out there finally for climate work, right? Brian, what you got? What are you thinking?
Hi, yeah, no current events to shout out, but I just wanted to take this time to introduce myself as a new organizer with Michigan Sierra Club. So I'm just at the beginning stages of planning and strategizing how I'm going to support Michigan communities to make a clean and just energy transition. So I'm emphatically looking for connections regarding collaborations and events in the future. So I'm going to put my email in the chat. So if anybody does want to connect, please do that. Thanks.
Absolutely. You know, a good new organizer when they raise the hand and introduce themselves in a new space. Brian, I think you're going to do just fine. And we're going to help you in any way possible. Again, it's just such a fabulous thing with our network. Any of your climate work, we can help connect with all of these groups and all of these fine folks from around the state. I don't
So much.
I don't see more hands. What else? I see a lot of wonderful stuff here in the chat. Oh, good. Ann Arbor's gonna show, or who's else is gonna show Troubled Water? We're doing it in May. I didn't even want to talk about that one yet. We're gonna get through Earth Day first, right?
Yeah, it's just a congregational group showing it, but they're really excited, and I will jump in and say, my name is Catherine Dalaga. I live in Ypsilanti, and I'm the co-facilitator for the new working group for Third Act, debuting in Michigan through a slow and gradual rollout. I'll put our brand new website link in the chat. We're new as of today, and the showing is thanks to one of our coordinating committee members who is active in Jackson. So thank you all.
Awesome. And yes, Stephanie, your question, we are trying to be the coordinator and connector of all these great folks and all of these wonderful things that are happening. And I'll throw just our main event page in the email, in the chat here again. That's at the top of that page again is a little form that you can very easily, hopefully, submit all of your events. And then what Colleen does is put them all on the website for us. We do at least a monthly newsletter, usually within the first it's kind of like paying rent. By the 5th of the month, you'll usually get an email from us that we consider our newsletter, that is the roundup of all the events coming up for that month. And as Colleen noted, there's so many in April because of Earth Day that we'll likely do another email and social media blast about that about mid-month. So we are doing our darn best to be the clearinghouse of all of this fine work and use it really to connect folks. I go to that site all the time when I'm talking to folks to let them know, hey, this is the group that's in your particular area, and here's how you can get involved with them, or here's something that they're doing that is coming up. What else, folks? Anyone else out there want to make a plea for their upcoming org actions or things that are going on? Well, hi, Peter. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I got on a little late. I apologize. But I think there's something that a lot of people need to be much more aware of, and that is we are, of course, very happy with the governor having taken a hugely ambitious action on a suite of bills related to climate, and many brave legislators in swing districts voted for that. We have kicked over a hornet's nest. Michigan is now in the crosshairs of the fossil fuel industry internationally because we are a swing state in the United States of America. We are an industrial state. We are a state that is a huge challenge to decarbonize. And I talk to solar and wind developers all over the country who tell me that Michigan is the toughest state it is to site clean energy. And I have been working along with a number of other really, frankly, heroic people going to some of these township meetings and county meetings where we are the farmers who want to site energy because they see it as a salvation for their farm are under attack. They are being abused, harassed, even physically threatened. Everyone that I know that has done this work has been threatened one way or another, either legally or verbally or physically. This is a crisis. I think a lot of people are not aware of it. They're not aware of what is being done to the farmers. I have posted a lot of this material at my blog, think.blog, THINC. And there is a petition campaign now that is aimed at gathering signatures to repeal the centerpiece or one of the center poles of the governor's program, which is the siting reform. The siting reform gives a solar or a wind developer a pathway to appeal to the Michigan Public Service Commission if they are blacked out and if the farmers' property rights are violated by an illegal exclusionary ordinance that screens out this the legal use of land for solar or wind. And so this is target number one for the fossil fuel industry. And I've been extremely frustrated that the Democratic leadership in Lansing does not seem to get it. A lot of our nonprofits don't seem to get how critical this is. But the antis have been successfully framing this issue in the media as an issue of, quote, local control. And they want to return local control. But the most local control is a farmer's ability to invite or not solar or wind onto his land.
Yeah.
And that is what is being violated here.
Yeah.
And so these petition gatherers are around. You may see them. Just know that this is not about local control. It is about Exxon control. And there's so much more I can say about this. If anybody is interested, I'll put my email in the chat. Please reach out to me. This is a crisis that will make all of your other work, all of your other wonderful work, come to naught if we do not solve this in Michigan and across the Midwest.
Yeah.
So please, please pay attention to this issue, and let's see if we can work together to turn this back.
Absolutely. So glad to have you here today, Peter. And thanks for putting your email in the chat. You and I are going to be together at an event at the end of April at Pierce Cedar Creek Institute in Hastings, Michigan, if folks want to come catch us in person. And Peter, the way that MiCAN is thinking about that, and that's what's next on our agenda, is we're launching a climate voter campaign. And I think that the ballot initiative, right, that the counter to that ballot initiative is messaging that we're going to fold into our climate voter campaign so that folks are really up on all of that. And while I have everybody here on this, we're about to schedule an event with an organization called Land and Liberty. And I don't want the rest of my MiCAN network to get, scared of the name of that organization, because this is Rural Conservatives for Renewable Energy. And it will be about how to talk to conservative partners on this when you're out in those rural places, some of the myths about that ballot initiative and where they're going. And Peter, we still have to get you on the MiCAN calendar sometime as well. I know we always seem to miss each other because you are so super busy, but thank you for making sure that we're aware of that. Marwan, are you going to talk about the climate voter stuff? Because that's where I'm headed next. So unless you had something else.
Yeah, I was.
All right, give me a minute and I'll introduce you more properly. Well, okay, thanks everybody. I think, Serena, we should probably move this on and let you know a little bit about this climate voter campaign that I just plugged a little bit. And then don't worry, you'll all get introduced to Marwan as well. Okay, so this is where we're headed with our big campaign for this electoral year, folks. And I think Fred is on the call. Fred Miller from Oakland County, Turn Oakland County Green, launched this idea of a theme in my brain, oh gosh, before the end of even 2023. And so we are calling this From Earth Day to Election Day. And remember, the mission of MiCAN, again, is to not only build, but to mobilize this well-trained, well-coordinated, justice-centered movement. Make sure those cultural shifts are happening, make sure that equitable climate action is the norm. And that picture there is from the Day of Action rally for the clean energy legislation that was passed in 2023. And I know so many of you signed on to our support pieces for that and came to that. Thank you so much. And I have to tell you, it wasn't enough. Right? Again, we know we're the majority, and we know we need to galvanize all of us much, much more, because we're not showing the numbers to those legislators and to those elected officials that, hey, this is it, and we demand this. And so that turnout needs to be incredible this year. And this is going to be our big focus for the next few months, really all the way through, of course, our election. And again, we're headed there because not only our mission, the importance of this electoral year, and we got to show this broad support out there, folks. So how we're going to do this is really thinking about our strengths. And you saw those comms folks, people like Bill and Serena and Colleen behind this to run a digital campaign. And we're going to be providing resources for you to be able to talk to fellow citizens about being a climate voter, something called deep canvassing that I'm going to give Marwan the floor in just a minute for. We've been developing with so many of you. Thank you for all of the edits and work that folks have done. We have developed a shared set of questions to ask candidates, okay? Most of those are focused on the full Michigan House that is up for election this year, but we want to include your municipal elections as well. And then we're going to develop a climate voter guide out of that, right? Much like our resources and friends from the League of Women Voters and other folks who do voter guides, will be a specific climate question focused one. And of course, still be doing general get out the vote pieces to make sure that all voting information is accessible. All of this is nonpartisan and strictly 501c3, folks. We do not have a C4. MiCAN does not endorse candidates. We are about registration, engagement, education, and the overall goal of this campaign is to make sure that climate is a top electoral priority, making sure that megaphone gets out there, that we are connected, and that, again, that it is just undeniable that this is what we need any elected official to pay attention to and be with us, right? And to make sure that we all have the information out there to vote for those climate champions. And as Peter said, the folks who are in some of those tough districts, we need to show them that support. If there's a climate champion in your district, we need to make sure we're broadcasting that and getting that information to the voters in that district, because we know that you're out there. And if we would utilize our power, we would win. And we could have a pro-climate majority in this legislature again. So I think, go ahead, Serena. The couple levels, the way that we're thinking about this, really kind of level one is, okay, I want to learn some things and I want to learn how to talk to other, my friends, my family. Maybe you're an extrovert like me and you're willing to talk to that person in the grocery store line or wherever you are in life. Just resources to talk to fellow people about why you're a climate voter and what that might mean. And then again, we're developing a suite of questions that we will turn into a true voter guide. Marwan, I think I'm going to cede the floor to you here. Marwan McDockey is he's the higher ed volunteer at the University of Michigan and working with Citizens Climate Lobby, Higher Ed, and Youth Action Team on what's called deep canvassing. If you haven't heard of this technique, it's pretty amazing. And Marwan, I'm going to be sharing out all of these resources and pieces after that. But why don't you go ahead and take a couple minutes and tell folks what you're doing and who you are and where this is coming from.
Yeah, thank you, Denise. So hi, everyone. I'm Marwan McDoty. I'm a student at the University of Michigan and volunteer with CCL, as Denise just mentioned. So deep canvassing is a discussion tactic that has been used for a variety of different causes. But essentially, it's a way of having candid, two-way conversations with people and persuading their viewpoint on any issue, really, by getting them to open up on why they think the way that they do about a particular issue. And allow them to sort of explain their viewpoint in a non-judgmental setting. And basically, you're leading with listening. You're giving them more questions that allow them to expand upon the experiences that shape their viewpoint. And then you, of course, provide your own experience and story that shapes your perspective. And in this effort, you're able to get people to explore perhaps their own cognitive dissonance and see things from a different angle and hopefully persuade them to a different viewpoint. So what we're working on at CCL Higher Ed is a deep canvassing campaign, essentially, to get voters to prioritize climate as a voting issue, as a top priority when they go to the ballot box, as well as turn out people who are already supportive of climate action, but they're not currently planning on voting. So we have developed a script very recently for doing just that, and we based it on a variety of very successful materials. So for context, like I said, this is a tactic that's been used for a variety of causes, and one of those, luckily, is climate change. And in that context, one organization that had a lot of success, it's called Neighbors United. They are a Canada-based organization, but they've done work in the US. They had a canvas with a conservative mining town where they were getting voters to back a 100% renewable energy guarantee for the town. They had a 40% persuasion rate in this effort, which is highly significant. That is huge if you compare it to a lot of different persuasion projects. So we used some of their materials in coming up with our own. We also conferred with someone from another deep canvassing organization called the New Conversations Initiative. They helped us in coming up with our script. So what we're hoping to do, and we're launching tonight, actually, we have a training on the script for our volunteers, as well as our youth action volunteers, who are the high school students. They'll be learning how to use this script and have conversations with their friends, their family, people that they know about climate change, and using it when they vote, as well as turning out people, like I said, who are already supportive of climate change, but maybe they have their own reasons for not voting. And so we're honing in on the personal stakes of climate change. What are the personal experiences that we can connect to climate for the voter and attach those personal stakes to the stakes of getting people elected who will actually deal with it. So the stakes of the issue become the stakes of voting and getting people elected who care about it without endorsing anyone, but we're basically changing the way people think about this issue. And yes, thank you, Denise. That document in the chat is the script, and I can also link an interest and involvement form, Google form, for anyone who is interested in this and learning more and seeing if, you know, certain materials that we create can be given to you. And you can, of course, use this script however you want. But as we update it and as we have trainings, we can perhaps send you recordings. You can use whatever materials we create. All that we would ask is that you let us know how it turns out for you and basically engage in sort of an exchange of best practices and having conversations with voters. And I'll also share a couple links. So this is the interest and involvement form, like I said in the chat, as well as that webinar by Yale Climate Communications that I mentioned. So that's a great thing to check out that will give you, I hope, a better background on this issue, or excuse me, on this tactic. And then this, of course, is the website for the organization. Like I said, Neighbors United, Canada-based, but they've done work in the US. And they have phone banking that's held quite often. I am struggling to remember where their next one is, but it's fairly, I think it's April 10th. Yes, April 10th is their next phone bank. You can show up, no background. You'll get free training for an hour and a half. Then you do an hour of calls and 30 minutes of debrief. So you can get some real deep canvassing experience and training, and it's free, which is a great aspect of it too. So, and also put my email for any of you who are interested. Please feel free to email me or fill out the Google form. Either of those will work if you are interested in this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and giving the spiel today, Marwan. I really appreciate it. And these are all, again, resources that we're going to be putting on our website. I got that wonderful draft page from Bill Lotka in my inbox, or we would be showing that to you already. These are the resources that we will compile, again, thinking about our mission of amplifying this climate message. We got to be talking to each other. Catherine Hayhoe, one of my climate heroes, a climate scientist, the first message she gives people is we got to be talking about it. And these are amazing resources and proven effective methods for you to be able to do so, right? And then, of course, we're going to be taking that to the next level and asking these candidates questions and hoping that you're going to help us make sure those candidates answer those questions and be publishing our own voter guide on the network this year. So I think next slide, Serena, and I'll move along here to make sure you get a lot of time. So just right now, I can share with you those questions have been vetted and developed in solidarity with our grassroots steering committee, which again is folks, local leaders from around the state, with Michigan Alliance for Justice and Climate. The National Science Policy Network has run a voter guide on science on the ballot for many, many years. They have a chapter at Michigan State University we're working with. The Michigan Student Power Alliance is also working on a voter guide. I think I might have seen Emily here at some point, and also doing some listening sessions. Again, these are groups that have a variety of other issues that they are working on in their guides, but are developing, or we've shared and adapted a climate question for them. Take Back Our Power, which is Michigan United's campaign, and Michigan Energy, Michigan Jobs, who was really behind the Day of Action last year. And the questions right now are around things like the renewable energy standard here in Michigan, our distributed cap, Justice 40, how we might get to community solar, shutting down Line 5, public transportation. We got to put campaign finance in there, folks, because one of the reasons we are not able to get the most bold policy is because of money in politics. And Peter, as I said, we will be sharing the messaging and some counter resources for folks out there talking about climate voter when they're going to get pushback about that ballot initiative. And I'm working on that piece right now. So soon to come are a variety of resources. You know, the filing deadline for candidates is April 23rd. So again, we really hope to have these resources together for you to be able to start talking about them and utilizing them, and sort of that soft launch on your Earth days around the state, right? Okay. I think next one, Serena. And how, again, we're going to distribute this is through our website and through sharing reports from you coming from the field. And the dream here is that the climate summit is the next big point, right? If we launch this at Earth Day and we start really talking to folks, talking to candidates, getting them to commit and put their answers out in ways that voters can have the information in front of them before the August 6th primary is our goal there. We hope to showcase all of your work on this climate voter campaign, the results of our voter guide and many other voter guides at a plenary session at our climate summit on September 26th to really raise up the profile and pressure of this initiative. And that summit will also essentially serve as a get out the climate vote rally, where I just talked to the League of Women Voters of Washtenaw County this morning, who are going to be there in force to make sure that we have all of the tools and access things available to us to make the biggest climate voter push ever for this very, very important 2024 election. And I think I better turn it over to my colleague now, as I always think it's going to be enough time. I think that's what's next, right, Serena?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Well, any questions on any of those pieces, please feel free to shoot me an email. But I want to spend the rest of our time together. We got about 40 minutes to talk about this initiative for Climate Culture Club, and then how we can stay even more connected through an amazing platform called Mighty Network. And thank you so much to Serena for leading this initiative. Donna McClurkin, our cultural contributor, is here with us today too. They have really devised a fantastic space and initiative here. Thanks, Serena. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you. And this should be plenty of time, so no worries. I'm really excited to introduce this project and to publicly launch it today. It's been something that I've been working on behind the scenes for quite some time now, and something that I'm really passionate about. But before we really get into what this Climate Culture Club is going to be and will be, I thought it makes sense for us to take a little bit of a step back and to think about why this type of work is important in the movement, why MiCAN's doing it, the cultural work we've done so far, and that kind of stuff first. So starting with that question of why is culture important for the climate movement? We can start with this one quote from Fabian Rodriguez, who is a great artist. And this quote reads that the power of art and culture is that it speaks to our heart, it speaks to our emotions, and it also opens up our imagination to show us what's possible. It takes us to another world. What we urgently need in our climate movement is to be able to imagine solutions and see ourselves in a different kind of relationship to nature. So I think that quote in itself encapsulates a huge chunk of some of the things that I'm most passionate about in these spaces. The idea of radical imagination and, our need to be able to imagine a future that we would be incredibly proud to be a part of, to then be able to create the policies or whatever change we think is needed in order to get there. And there's, of course, other aspects, things that Denise just recently touched upon, the idea of like, we just need to be talking about it more. It needs to be a part of our everyday lives more. So especially for some of those people that are maybe a little bit less involved in the climate movement than perhaps all of us on this call today, it might feel easier to, start those conversations with your friends or family members if it's in terms of, here's this great book that I'd love for you to read, or what did you think about this aspect of this movie that, feels like it's very rooted in climate impacts, or that kind of stuff. As well as being able to use culture and art as, an amazing convener for community, and allowing people to forge connections and relationships via art and culture is incredibly strong as well. So those are some of the backgrounds for why cultural work is something that we find to be very important in the climate movement itself. And next, thinking about MiCAN in particular and kind of where this fits in with all of our mission, I just wanted to pull out a couple of pieces. The first is from, we shared earlier our 20-year vision for the movement in Michigan as a whole. This here is pulled from our 20-year vision for our org, which is kind of about how we want to use our roles of being the megaphone that amplifies, the switchboard that connects and convenes our climate leaders, as well as the central hub to just form those connections and support for all of us in the movement. And the goal of that is to ensure a powerful network of climate leaders and inspire durable cultural shifts that will lead to a more just, equitable, resilient, and sustainable future for all Michiganders. So of course, inspiring those durable cultural shifts, I think part of that is we can see through our culture and some of the pieces of art and media that exist in our culture when those shifts are happening and how much more it is becoming a part of the everyday conversation. So we're hoping that this will kind of help to nudge all of that in the right direction. And then additionally, when looking at our mission statement, when I am working on this type of work, I really see it as especially working on connecting and supporting the people and the individuals that are in this movement. So we have a lot of spaces that are, geared towards connecting the leaders of various grassroots organizations and communities. But I think this is kind of our project that really goes on that individual, each human scale of making sure that we have community and connection and feeling supported as whole humans in this movement. And then last but not least, for why MiCAN is doing this work as well, I just want to mention it's because we have a ton of people that are super passionate about it. In addition to me, we also have Colleen Ludwig as our artistic director and Donna McClurkin as our climate culture club contributor. And, I think that's always an important aspect of it as well, that this work brings me joy. It makes me think that my job is really cool, and it makes me excited to contribute to the climate movement. So it's always that piece of it as well. It's like it's something that we see as being important to the movement. It's something that I really enjoy doing and can do in this space. So just another reason why I think it's great for MiCAN to be doing this work. Okay, and then before we really get into what Culture Club is, I would be remiss if I didn't say, oh, one of these pictures didn't end up showing up in this Polaroid, but that's okay. I can explain it to you anyways. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our summit last year, where we had this amazing interactive art piece designed by Colleen Ludwig, which featured this huge banner of interconnected root and mycelium, and it had 10 or so prompts that asked participants to reflect on how climate has already impacted us individually and our communities. So asking questions like, what have we lost that we grieve? What does climate justice look like for you? What makes you feel strong or vulnerable in the movement at this time? and what motivates you to join the climate movement, and questions like that. And as you can see in the one picture that did show up today in the presentation, people were able to write their answers directly on that banner and see them interconnected with everyone else's answers. So the one on the right was a little bit more of a close-up where you could kind of get an inkling of some of the answers, and there was, you know, someone actually writing on it. So that was a big kind of piece of the cultural work we've done so far. And also, not to mention that the summit as a whole was called and themed Sharing Our Stories Amid Michigan's Moment, which had great interactive sessions like social change through storytelling and creating your cipher, which was through the lens of hip hop music making, learning how to really utilize that power and flow for culture and community organizing. So that's kind of a lot of the cultural work that MiCAN has done so far, and we were planning on trying to integrate a lot of this into our upcoming summit as well. And then now the next big piece is Climate Culture Club. So this is a working tagline. I'm open to suggestions. This whole thing is always open to suggestions because everything's always very experimental and, you know, trying to be the best that we can with what we have right now. But what I've been calling it recently when describing it to people is that it's like a book club, but more than that. So I've said going beyond a book club for climate resiliency. So you can think of it as, you know, a space where we can gather and talk about not just books, but in addition to that, things like art and music albums, visual art, movies, podcasts, a much broader scope of media and culture than you might imagine in just a book club. But yeah, so in accordance with, you know, our mission to inspire durable cultural shifts, we are dedicating a good portion of our digital community space to have a space to form these connections with other members that want to discuss and, you know, explore and read about, learn about other experiences through climate-related art, culture, and media. So our team in this space will, you know, of course, be sharing some of our favorite pieces of work and providing recommendations and resources that way, as well as it, of course, being able to have more two-way conversations and allowing the members as well to post more about some of the things that you enjoy, being able to connect and have discussions with other people as well. And we also aim to host monthly events that could be anything from something that might feel like a more traditional book club, so like a discussion of a particular piece of art or culture, or they could be, you know, bringing in an expert or an artist or someone like that to kind of have a conversation with our community, as well as perhaps little challenges, whether they're, you know, trying to get you to read more of a certain type, read a different genre, or, you know, watch a movie instead of read a book, try to create some art on your own, that kind of stuff. But if you ever have any suggestions for events, we're also happy to hear them. And I think the easiest thing to do to really talk about this space more at this point is to show you what it looks like. And that kind of brings us to our last point in our agenda, because these two things are incredibly interconnected, which is that our Michigan Climate Action Network is now on a platform called Mighty Network. So if you, like Denise mentioned at the very beginning of our meeting here, if you're a part of our steering committee or MCCN or some of our other groups, you might already be on here. And one, I want to say thank you for helping us to trial and get to know this platform as we've gotten it ready now for a public launch, and, you know, being your guinea pigs with that. But Mighty Network, if you're unfamiliar with it, is kind of like a cross between a Facebook group, except that it's way more intentional. It's not going to just be intermixed with whatever else shows up in your feed. And most importantly, you know, ads. So it's a much more intentional space. And so somewhere between like a Facebook group and a Slack channel where there's dedicated spaces for specific things going on. So a couple of the reasons why we thought that this platform would be a really good fit for our org is because it is super intentional. So we're kind of on that mode of thinking of, we would love to have, to quote Adrienne Marie Brown, instead of the mild wide, inch deep impact, instead having the inch wide but mile deep impact. So having, even if it's a smaller subsection of our network, be incredibly engaged in us being able to have a lot of interaction with them and each other on this very dedicated platform, as well as increasing that ability of two-way communication. So it doesn't necessarily just need to be us, sending out emails, posting on social media, but allowing a place for you all as well to directly share content with the rest of the network, be that events that you're interested in, that you think everyone else would be interested as well, or action opportunities, all that kind of stuff. So let's see if I actually did my screen sharing settings correctly. And if I can hop on over to it. Are you seeing a different page?
I do see a separate page. I wonder, you're getting lots of love in the chat, and I'm going to throw that link in the chat. I just want to take a quick pause and say, are there any, questions or comments about, this leaning into a climate culture club piece? And I think this is making a certain amount of sense given the comments and things in the chat, but this is the big new piece that we really are going to be devoting some time and resources to. Huh?
Yeah, and after I show you the actual space, which might answer some questions you have immediately, we definitely will have time at the end for any questions that afterwards as well. But yeah, if anyone has a question they want to ask right now about some of that, how we've gotten to the point of our cultural work, I'm happy to try to answer those now.
I guess everybody's still with us. I thought I would take a little breath because that was a lot of wonderful stuff. All right, we'll jump in the chat if people got questions. Otherwise, this is this platform. And yeah, Stephanie, I know we introduced the name in our higher education meeting and didn't go through the wheel, didn't turn the wheels for you. And that's what Serena's going to do right now. It's a great platform.
Great. Well, thank you. I could use a break in that monologue anyways. So I just wanted to show you first, for this meeting, I made a new account with a personal email address so that it is more emblematic of the experience you'll have when you first join, instead of seeing my normal account, which is the admin account, and of course has everything and maybe too much to show you all at once. But so when you follow that link that was at the end of the slide and is probably in the chat, this is the landing page it will bring you to, which has a little description about what this space is for. And it's also then the link that you can share with other people to try to get them to be a part of our network and our community here as well. So you'll just have a request to join, and we have two short questions. One is just a chance for you to tell us what you're wanting to contribute or gain from the community, so that we have more ideas for what to add or change to make it the most fun and effective and useful network it can be for our members themselves. And then a second one, just a check to saying how we're moderating the space. So just checking that that we are moderating the space. And then we'll hopefully very promptly then accept your request to join, and you'll be able to be in the full space, which then I will go to this screen, confirming that new screen is up. Great. Thank you. So once you're actually in the space, it will probably plop you into this global feed right here. I can hear some notifications going on in the background, so I think that means some of y'all are already joining right away, which is great. So while this loads, got a lot of tabs open. Of course, sharing screen and everything might be a little slow on us today. But it will have kind of in this top left corner, these 4 global tabs, which is just going to combine any of these spaces that you are a part of. It kind of just shows them all in one go. So you can see for any of our public spaces, all of that content will go into the global feed as well. So this one is coming from our community that is higher ed for climate action in Michigan. If we scroll a little bit, I think that is also HECAM related. We post our events like this, or like this one, but this is for Community Voices happening in April, and all that kind of stuff. And when you first make your account, it will have over here this nice welcome checklist for you to do, which kind of helps you get oriented and get to know the space, with a couple of suggestions, like, writing out your bio so you can introduce yourself and make it easier for other people to connect with you. Get used to how you cheer something on and adjusting your notifications. If you want to download the app to make it more accessible on the go for you, and trying to invite one of your friends or coworkers or something like that to the network so you have more people to engage with here. So I will be using Climate Culture Club as an example to kind of show you what is possible in this space. But I first just want to highlight that there are multiple different spaces in here. If it'll let me see that See More button. We have some are different communities here. We're also using this internally for MiCAN for a couple spaces like our team, our climate influencers. We'll be trying to get our board of directors on there soon. Our summit planning committee. So if you're part of any of those groups, you probably know that you're in here. And then the central climate hub is where everyone who joins the network automatically is a part of. And so that is where, if you have an event that you want to share to everyone that's on this platform and in our network, this is the place where you would do it. So this is where we will be sharing things like the events that we're hosting, or action opportunities. And of course, there are a couple of different tabs. These are just pulsing because this is a new account and it's trying to guide you to check out some new things, which we'll do in a second. But you can see that there's a general feed. You can go to a tab that specifically will kind of list out some of the events that are happening in this space. And then you can also take a look at some of the members. And it will usually do a lot to try to help find the people who are either, you can put in your location so you can find other people that are geographically near you. And one day we hope to perhaps have more local groups on here that can help with facilitating in-person events in addition to all of the virtual events that will be happening here. And this is a great way to kind of try to find more people to connect to as well. So going into Climate Culture Club to kind of show you what else this looks like and what this looks like when we do kind of create some of those community spaces on here. Let me first get rid of this welcome section. So you don't need to see that right now. But you'll see, so just as an example, we have a welcome section that is specific to this space. That's going to be asking you what is just one piece of your favorite climate related media. And that is just a nice way to go ahead and get started and, a quick introduction to the community. You can find other people that either love it or maybe hate it, and you can have a discussion about it. Either way, but it's kind of a good, easy first step into creating some content and posting. And then you can see in this space, we have our general feed that has some stuff coming up. So for our first official month of the club, we have a few fun events. This is like one of the challenge I was mentioning. So we're going to have this Earth Month challenge for the month of April, where essentially, it's a couple of little tasks to complete in order to do the challenge, which includes things like making a post or two in the space, sharing a recommendation, or a review for some piece of climate related media, art, or culture. And there's a couple of examples that I've already posted that you can kind of see if you don't know what that might look like. And then trying to get some friends to join. So successfully referring to other people to join the club. And if you do those two things and fill out our little form, then we have designed this sticker that we will mail to you. And it'll be a nice little 3x3 sticker that is a limited edition. So we'll send them until we don't have them anymore. So thinking optimistically, maybe do it sooner rather than later so you can make sure you can get one of those fun stickers. But we're doing that challenge for the month of April to kind of help get everyone oriented to the space. And then towards the end of the month, we also have this first event that we're hosting, which is a climate cafe. If you're not familiar, a climate cafe is really just a community gathering space to share thoughts and feelings about the climate and ecological crises that are happening right now. So it's kind of a nice space to get away from so much of the busyness and activity and more so just be present in community. And we thought this would be just a fantastic way to get oriented in the space, get to know some of the other members in the space, and kind of take a pause from the incredibly busy Earth Month activities and time for some reflection. So we'll be hosting this with, I'll be facilitating with another person named Kennedy, who facilitated a lot of climate cafes when she was a student at Western. So kind of excited to bring her into the fold and get her facilitating again, which I know she's very excited about. And because of the nature of the space, we are limiting it to 10 participants. And then on top of that are 2 facilitators. So if that's really of interest to you, make sure you RSVP now. The meeting link here will bring you to a Zoom registration so you can actually get fully registered for the event. But we already also have a secondary backup date in case there is a lot of demand for this. We're happy to open up a second session. So get registered for that if it's of interest, and we can get another one going if there needs to be another one to accommodate more people. So yeah, that is an example of some events, which an easy way to see that is also just directly in the events tab. And you'll also notice there are maybe some other events that when I just see other organizations or just coming across other events that I think would be of interest to the group, I will share them here as well. And any members are welcome to do the same thing. If you probably keep it to virtual events because this is not necessarily geographically based in one part of Michigan. But yeah, I think this one is actually based off of Bard College, their week of climate action and climate engagement. So it doesn't need to be Michigan based for a lot of these virtual events, but you're also welcome to share things there too. And as we go, we'll be trying to keep things organized by using these highlighted hashtags. So things that have come through already, so I've created hashtags for them, are for podcast recommendations, climate fiction recommendations, and then climate nonfiction recommendations. So by using this and using those hashtags when you make those recommendations, it will be that much easier then to pull up all of the things that are, tagged with that. So earlier today, I just posted a little review after reading An Immense World by Ed Young, which was recommended by Nate from Grand Rapids. So that was my first reading based off a recommendation gotten from this club, and it was fantastic. So here's just an example of I wrote a quick review of my thoughts. So that's kind of the example for that challenge. If you wanted to share something like this based off of something that you engaged with, that would be great. And I think that is pretty much everything that comes with these spaces. But yeah, if there are any questions, of course, I can kind of try to answer some of them now. But in general, I'm also happy, oops, open up a second tab. I'm happy to, I know it's a new platform and not everyone is as tech savvy as some. So I'm happy to, even if it's a quick meeting to help guide you through it, I'm happy to do that. I really want to make sure that this is a welcoming and accessible space for everyone that wants to engage with it. So you are welcome to either send me, you can find my name in the members. I'm usually the top one because I think I've referred the most people so far. So you can send me a message there or send me an email if you have any questions, or as well, if you have any suggestions, if you have a great idea for an event for Climate Culture Club, or if you have another community that you think really needs a space This platform really allows us a lot of flexibility. So even if if you're the lead for a local grassroots org and you want your own separate space, we can do that. And we can have you be the hosts and the moderators of it and kind of just run it within this network. But there's tons of possibilities. So I'll stop rambling now and leave some room if anyone has any questions. And I'll also be able to read through everything that's come through the chat so far too.
Yay. Thank you so much, Serena. Do you want to stop sharing so you can actually see everybody again and they can see all of you?
Sure, unless Randy's question needs me to be showing something.
No, I don't think so. So the question I have is whether you envision this as being a platform where we can all ask for help from each other if we're facing a particular issue. For example, we're in the midst of a FOIA fight with our local utility about information that's related to their plans to start a new fossil fuel plant. And it would be useful if we had a place to reach out to and put out the information. Hey, has anybody else dealt with an issue like this before? What have you done? What's worked? What hasn't worked? Come commiserate with us, whatever it might be.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have a couple of different specific community spaces laid out that, depending on what the ask for help is specifically about, might be best suited to one of the specific spaces. But the default can always be that central climate hub to reach everyone that's in there. They can always see it there. But yeah, we have, for some of our orgs, we have our Michigan Climate Communications Network. So if it's comms related, that's kind of a nice specific group to join and be able to do a lot of resource sharing or asking for advice and questions there. We have our steering committee now, Culture Club, some education related ones. But as I was saying, we don't have a limit for really how many of those different spaces and collections we can make. So if you have a special interest that doesn't feel like it's quite represented yet and you want to take charge of it, let me know, and I'm happy to also try to create more spaces to suit that as well. But yes, I would definitely say for questions and trying to see if anyone else has dealt with similar issues, the Central Climate Hub is always a great default space to reach out to.
Yeah. And Randy, you're in steering committee, so let's ask that question. Steering committee, and I would probably post it to the general climate hub, just so you never know who else is out there in the membership network. That's exactly what I hope this is happening. And I see the love in the chat, because this is how we're going to hopefully stay more connected and be able to ask very specific things and have conversations and share things within our own kind of private network space, right? So it's not always an email, it's not blasting it out to your entire network or to ours, but we can really work through things and develop, what is the messaging around siding that we want? How are we going to help Lansing fight BWL's current campaign? How are we going to make sure we're really connecting and supporting everyone? And most of the questions, Serena, are creating a channel for city, county specific events. I know you kind of said virtual, but absolutely, we want your local events in there too. And I think that as we think through this, that should just probably be its own hashtag for local events. And I didn't want to go ahead and create like all of your towns yet or anything, because we're not sure, right? Who wants to really be active in this space? But Crystal, we can create Kalamazoo one, right? And just get that channel going. And Serena can help us navigate those. And Lauren, same thing, kind of asked about topics like ag, renewables, health, right? Like climate change is so intersectional, but absolutely creating those. Serena, do you want people to just make suggestions as how we kind of did it in steering committee and in summit committee, utilizing this space? Folks made suggestions about the hashtags or other groups they wanted. Is that how folks could go about that? Because we want you in Mighty Network. I want you in there asking it in there, right?
Yeah, for sure. So the best way to do it is probably to just make a quick post about it, because then we can also see how much interest and engagement that garners. to help judge, like, is that actually a space that is going to be utilized well, um, and that kind of stuff. And yeah, initially I had another set of spaces, which is, it's called a collection. The idea was to have it be spaced out for local action, to have specific geographic spaces kind of get their own representation. But I realized that I absolutely cannot be the person moderating all of those, because I live in one space and I barely can keep track of all the stuff going on here. So that's an opportunity for anyone that is really involved with their local community and wants to kind of spearhead that community space for their community. We can definitely get that set up. And yes, thank you for clarifying that, Denise. When I said virtual events, that was mostly for Culture Club, not everything as a whole. But that's actually true, that even for a Culture Club, you can always throw in a local event, and you never know, someone might be nearby or willing to make a trip out if it's real interesting. So yeah, any events, that's a great thing to add.
Great. Well, thanks everyone. I think you see the promise of this type of organization for us to be able to really connect and share with each other. And I see time, so I think thank you so much, Serena, for walking everybody through that. And don't worry for everyone out there. We'll follow up, of course, with an email piece about some of these resources and continue to connect you to these resources and all of the follow-up pieces. So I hope that you're hanging in there with us, right? The next event that you could come to with MiCAN is our Community Voices series with Detroiters Working for Environmental Justice. That's virtual on April 9th. We will be shouting to the rooftops all of your Earth Day events, and we'll have those climate voter resources in line prior to your Earth Day events, so you can start to do that launch of the deep canvassing about talking about climate, elevating climate to be a top electoral issue this year, and we'll be helping support everyone get as many candidates as possible statewide to answer that questionnaire and showcase that on our website, building that through the summer up to that August primary. And then I hope everybody has September 26th. That's a Thursday on University of Michigan's beautiful Ann Arbor campus, where we'll be doing art and music and tabling and talking about the results of our climate voter campaign, as well as pushing the boundaries again on what's possible with civic engagement. What can groups like you really do when we're actually connected and we're coordinated and we are all pushing for the same piece? I don't think we've really done it yet, and that's what we are here to do as the Michigan Climate Action Network. And these tools are there for all of you to make it easier to connect and meet our, I think, mutual future and shared vision. Yeah. So thank you all for spending a little time with MiCAN today. I can hang out for a little bit if anybody else has got any questions or comments. I'm gonna do the official end of the meeting with the stopping of the recording though. Oh, it doesn't want me to stop it.